it is time to get to our main interview. Lieutenant Colonel Bill Dudley, and you and I go back probably in the early 2000s.
Right.
When we did Veterans Park together.
Right.
And
exactly.
when I was at Parks and Recreation, and we've been able to cross paths several different times throughout our career. You came on a radio show on Common Ground several times. But Lieutenant Colonel, if you would, what is your role at the Veterans Council? What is it that the Veterans Council actually do?
Well, before I get into that, Troy, let me just say that I really appreciate, and the Veterans Council appreciates the fact that you have been so supportive of veterans over the years. I have been on your radio show. I've been on your podcast several times. You're always there to support us, and we really appreciate that, being a voice for our veterans in the community in many, many respects. And you and I know how important an event we had this year when we opened Veterans Village for our veterans, for our homeless veterans. My role as the chairman of the Veterans Council is to be the voice for veterans in St. Johns County. We have 28 different veterans organizations, such as American Legion, VFW, Vets for Vets, those types of organizations representing approximately 23,000 veterans in this county. And so the Veterans Council is kind of the head of an amalgamation of all of those veterans organizations in the county. We meet the last Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock at the Health and Human Services building in the Muscovy room here in on San Sebastian View. We encourage anyone to come and be a part of our Veterans Council meeting that evening. We always have at least two speakers at every meeting that are speaking on something that supports or pertains in some way to veterans. So that's kind of my role. I work very closely with our county Veteran Service Office, Joe McDermott, who's the director of that department.
I don't think I've ever called him Joe.
Me either. It's Mac.
It's Mac.
But I work very closely with his department and his service officers. They contact me almost daily saying, Bill, we got a veteran in need for his utilities. He's behind in his utilities and needs some help with that. He's got a car repair. These are some things that I run into almost daily. And the Veterans Council is there to support, help that in a monetary way.
Yep. And we talked about, you talked about Veterans Village, and you joined Home Again. You had a vision of finding a home for veterans, for homeless veterans. Well, you tried something off of Homes, is it off of Homes? Not off Homes, off of Old Moultrie. Old Moultrie. It looked like it had some momentum, and then it kind of fell apart, which happens. It happens in government quite a bit. We got with you at Home Again. You already had so much good momentum with the state, and Veterans Village doesn't happen without your connection and the Veterans Council connection. I know I've been involved in a lot of interviews, but there's a reason why we named the community center Bill Dudley Community Center at Veterans Village there, and it was because of your contributions and what you've been able to do for veterans in this community. You went over there, and I don't want to say strong arm, but you convinced the politicians to create a funding source that allowed Home Again and the Veterans Council to find Veterans Village. And right now we're housing about 19 residents over there. Yes. Yeah, that would have been on the street any other time.
Many of those veterans were either sleeping in their cars, they were couch surfing, they were sleeping on an airbag or an air mattress, if you will, in someone's basement or in their garage. And so we were able to take those veterans off the street and house them in Veterans Village.
And I've talked a little bit about this on air. One of the things that I've loved with watching the growth of Veterans Village is we had 19 individuals that were kind of isolated, and now they're kind of come together as a group, and they lean on each other.
They do.
That they did not do 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's great for their mental health. I think it's great for our organization that they have that almost the band of brothers coming together, living there, and they take pride in their individual housing units, which to me, we're talking about somebody who was on the street, and now, I mean, they've taken full ownership of that change. Warms my heart in a lot of ways.
It does, Troy, and it's one of the things that we stress is trying to get these veterans to socialize together, and they're doing exactly that, and they are coming together now. I mean, you got to remember, in the military, you're trained to operate as a unit, as a team, and when they don't have that team environment anymore around them, many of these veterans just can't cope. They fall apart. Many of them are suffering from PTSD. I'm on the advisory group for our Veterans Treatment Court, and it's one of the things that we stress is that camaraderie and trying to recreate that camaraderie and that team spirit with these veterans.
Yeah. All right, and I want to kind of talk because your life. Right, we're going to talk about you personally, because your life is really interesting of where you are and how you've gotten to where you're at right now. And then after we do a couple reads, we're going to talk about Memorial Day ceremonies and stuff like that. But you went into the Air Force in 55.
1955.
1955. So the Air Force was still kind of a baby. I mean, it was established in like 47.
47. It was still in its infancy. In fact, when I went in, many of our veterans, many of our airmen who were in the Air Force at that time were still wearing the olive green uniform.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Didn't even have their blues.
Oh, so they were still in the Army.
Many of them were still in the Army Air Force.
Oh, wow. So, so you were in 55, and you barely made it in during the end of the Korean War. So you're considered a Korean War veteran.
That's right.
You're a Vietnam veteran and a Cold War veteran. So did you always want to be a pilot, or what drew you into that? Because I mean, like I said, Air Force was a very infant branch.
It was
at the time when you went in. So what drew you to be?
Well, I had an uncle, and my Uncle Bill, and my mother's youngest brother, who was a pilot, World War II. He was in the ETO in the European theater as a fighter pilot. I always just kind of emulated him.
He was
my model, and so I wanted to be like Uncle Bill, and so I saw my opportunity with going in the Air Force, and at the time that I went in, you didn't have to be college educated to be able to become an officer. You could apply for OCS, which I did in my 7th week in basic training. I applied for OCS. I passed the OCS exam and was accepted into OCS. I thought, this is great. They're going to let me out of basic training. I had to finish basic training 13 weeks, and then I went into OCS with no break. Had to go through basic training all over again. So I did 26 weeks of basic training before I was actually commissioned as an officer. I didn't get my college degree until after I was in the Air Force and did graduate school after I got out of the Air Force.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So. But you were accepted. You could become an officer without a degree at that when I went in the 50s.
Yeah. And next week we have a veteran in to talk about Vietnam, but your experience in Vietnam. What were you flying in Vietnam, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was never in country, boots on the, as we say, boots on the ground in country, and in Vietnam. My mission, I was flying MAC missions, which are military support missions. And I was flying C-130s at the time, C-124s and C-130s and cargo aircraft, all in support of Vietnam.
So you were in Japan at the time?
I was in Japan. I was in several different places where we were flying missions to fly goods or troops or whatever the needs were for support of Vietnam.
All right. You guys have a lot of stuff planned for this Memorial Day weekend. It's a big weekend. It's where we get to say thank you to those we lost. So kind of give us the weekend plan that you're seeing as veterans and how we can say thank you to our veterans.
Well, thank you, Troy. We do have a big weekend. Memorial Day is Monday, the 26th of May. Our program will start at 10 a.m. At the St. Augustine National Cemetery. We ask if you're coming to try to carpool if you can. The main parking lot in front of the National Guard headquarters building will be open for our use. There are 2 parking lots directly behind the headquarters building that we can also use. And I work with the chief of police, Jennifer Michaud, and she always relaxes the yellow curbing restriction for us every year, so you can park along the yellow curbing as well. But we've got a great program lined up this year. We're very fortunate that we have General Craig McKinley. He's a retired Air Force 4-star. Is going to be our speaker this year. We're very fortunate to have him. General McKinley was a part of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and also was head of the National Guard Bureau. So he lives here locally now, and we're very, very fortunate that he has agreed to come and speak at our Memorial Day service this year. The service each year, the ceremony each year, is put on by our Military Officers Association, Ancient City Chapter, and the Veterans Council of St. Johns County. We do this in collaboration each year, as we do for Veterans Day. We usually have between 400 and 450 attendees each year. When we first started to doing this down at St. Francis Field downtown, we usually had about 100 people that would show up. This has just grown exponentially since we moved it over to the National Cemetery, and we really appreciate everyone who turns out for this to support and honor those who served, who have paid the full measure of serving, if you will. On Friday, we'll be doing what we call Flags In, and that's putting out the American flag on each one of the headstones at the cemetery. There are 1,240 headstones in the cemetery, and we put a flag, American flag, on each one of them. In the center of the cemetery is a walkway that goes through, and we put out the American flags, the large American flags for that as well. We call that the Avenue of Flags.
Gotcha.
And we put those out as well that day. And then, of course, on Monday at 10 a.m. is the ceremony, and then on Tuesday, the 27th, we take the flags back out. We call that Flags Out.
All right, and if you're not familiar with where it is, it's down at Marine Street there. Always wanted to ask this: what are the little pyramids that are there? You see the headstones and all those, and you see the names on them. And what are the little pyramids? What are those?
Those are the 3 pyramids are where members of Dade's troops that were massacred, if you will, by the Seminole Indians are buried under those 3 pyramids.
Okay.
I've forgotten exactly how many we call souls, how many souls are buried under there, but there's several hundred under those 3 pyramids.
And that's going back from the Seminole War?
Seminole Wars, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first and second one, or just the
first Seminole War, where Dade was attacked by the Seminole War, by the Seminoles coming back from the Tampa area to St. Augustine, and he was attacked.
Oh, okay. All right. I've always seen those, and I was like, what is that? What is that that for? So, okay. Well, thank you for that information. So, Colonel, what is something like we can do as a public to help the Veterans Council, to help veterans that are in need locally? Like you said, we have 29 veterans,
28 different veterans organizations,
28 different veterans
organizations.
What is something like we can do? I know I got Bobby, who's an Air Force vet, in our comments here, and we probably have some other vets in our comments here. But what is something we can do as individual citizens that would help ease what you're doing to make things better for our veterans?
Well, Troy, one of the things, and quite honestly, and I have to say this, we live in a very benevolent community. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people that support veterans. Mm-hmm. There's an outpouring of people who call me all the time saying, Bill, I have furniture in my house. I'm getting ready to move, or I'm upgrading, or whatever. Would you like to have this furniture, or can you use it? And I do have a large 14 by 40 storage unit out at Atlantic Storage on 16. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of furniture in there that's donated. And when a veteran gets an apartment or gets a house, doesn't have any furniture, I just take them out and say, pick out what you want.
You get to go shopping.
Go shopping.
Yeah. And
it's all free to them. Mm-hmm. And then I'll line up some veteran volunteers, and they'll come and we'll get someone with a truck and a trailer or whatever we can scrounge up to use to move that furniture, and we'll go set it up in their apartment, in their house. And that's one way that people can help, is by donations. But quite honestly, what we always are in need of, as all organizations are, is money. Mm-hmm. Because the Veterans Council does help a lot of veterans in terms of paying when they get in arrears on their utilities, their insurance or rent or whatever. The Veterans Council steps up and pays it. Last year alone, our outlay, if you will, of financial help to veterans was a little over $144,000. That we, writing a check, $1,500 for this or $600 for that, or I just did a car repair.
Well,
for
you
a veteran.
I mean, you did, and it. I mean, before we opened Veterans Village, and you still do this, is you'll take care of a veteran will come into town in need, and you'll say, all right, we'll take care of a hotel for 3 or 4 days for them, and you'd call me and say, hey, can you get me a hotel? And we usually had a pretty good relationship with that. But I don't think people realize that the Veterans Council is out there to help like that. So we kind of need to spread that word the best we can.
We do.
Instead of people getting too far away, ask for help early. And that's one of the things we're trying to get across in Home Again, is like, ask for that help before you go homeless, because it's harder to place you after the fact. It's easier to help before you actually get there.
And it is. And we try to stress this all the time. I stress it with our veteran service officers as well, to tell the veterans, before you get 3 months behind in your rent, or before you get 3 months behind in your utilities, come to us early. It's a lot easier to pay 1 month in arrears than it is to pay 3 months.
Yes.
And so we try to stress that, and the service officers do that as well. But those are the kinds of things that the Veterans Council does.
All right. I see we got this right here, the tribute to the fallen comrade, Sergeant Major Ray Quinn, friend of both of ours. talk a little bit about what this tribute to the fallen comrade Ray Quinn, and talk about, I know what a great man he is, but I mean, the people don't know he was a county commissioner, but explain to why Ray Quinn is the one we're doing the tribute
Ray
to.
Quinn, not only was he a county commissioner at one time, he was retired from the Florida National Guard as a sergeant major, and he was actually the chairman of the Veterans Council at one time. And then when he went on the county commission board, he came to me and asked me, would I take over the Veterans Council while he was serving as a commissioner, which he couldn't do while he was on the commission board. I agreed to do that. And then when he came off the county commission board, came back to the Veterans Council, I said, okay, we're going to hand it back to you now as the chairman. He says, no, you're doing such a great job. I think you should stay on. He said, but I will be your vice chairman. And he became a vice chairman and was the vice chairman up until the time that he passed away, Thanksgiving of 2023.
Yeah.
And I have such a strong feeling for Ray. Not only did we work together on matters pertaining to veterans, but he was a very, very close friend. And his passing was a real blow to me, and as many others. But there is a tribute to fallen comrade that Ray wrote several years ago, and now has it actually patented. And so we do that every year at Memorial Day. We read this support this tribute to fallen comrade, and I'll be doing it again this year at Memorial Day. And it's a very touching ceremony. It has the boots, the gun, and the helmet, and each of those are symbolic of a soldier and a soldier's life.
Yeah.
And so we'll be doing that tribute again this year.
Well, thank you, Kurt. I appreciate you coming in, and we're going to do some comments, but people need to understand, you had a whole nother career after your military career. I mean, you were a lieutenant colonel, and then you ran two Fortune 500 companies after that.
Aerospace companies.
Aerospace companies after that, and now you are the face of the veterans here, and you're a spry 88 years old.
88 years old.
But this week at our Rotary, we celebrated Colonel Pruitt's 105th birthday. So I mean, you guys are still keeping it going.
We are, and we just lost John Provo last Thursday night, and we honored John Provo a couple of years ago on his 100th birthday at the county commission, and he just passed away last Thursday at 102. So we do continue to honor our veterans even in their hundreds.
Yeah, that's amazing.